Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning everyone. So today we'll talk about socio-economic issues. In this topic, by the end of this topic, we'll be able to understand the poverty and also identify the differences between the absolute poverty, hardcore poverty, and also relative poverty. You must be able to identify and explain the causes of rural poverty, urban poverty, and also hardcore poverty. Then you will also be able to discuss the measures taken to eradicate rural poverty, urban poverty, as well as hardcore poverty. Later on, we'll explain or identify the causes of income inequality and also what are the measures to narrow down the income gap between the rich and also the poor. Lastly, we will discuss about poverty eradication and also income distribution in Islamic perspective. As you are well aware of, there are two main objectives of economic development. One is to allocate resources efficiently in such a way to ensure the growth of real per capita income, and we also want to ascertain that income and wealth are distributed in equitable manner. So the implication in both objectives is the need to alleviate the absolute poverty and, if possible, to eradicate poverty altogether. When we say socio-economic issues, meaning that it is the combination of social and also the issues in economics. So meaning when we combine these two, so when we say it's social, meaning that it concerns human. And also their issues. So after independence, there are 5 main problems that have been faced by nation after independence. One is because we know in early independence, more than half of the nation population were poor. So there will also be unequal income distribution. It also be related to high unemployment rate, since many of the people or population during that time were small farmers, and also they are being segregated between the ethnics. Therefore, there will be imbalanced development between the urban areas and also the rural and also remote areas. And lastly, there will be over-dependence on the foreign sector. There are two sources of poverty. One, you can say, is a lack of wealth. Second is about the lack of education, training, experience, and also intelligence. So there are two sources of poverty. Actually, different countries in the world define poverty differently. Some define poverty as insufficiency of basic needs. So there are not enough food, shelter, and also clothing. So this will also result in insecure, being a powerlessness, and also exclusion of the individual household and also the community. And they are also subjected to be exploited. So other than these 3 basic needs, poverty can also refer to a lack of necessities such as electricity, clean water, health facilities, and also education. When there's extreme poverty, there will will result in serious malnutrition and also starvation and even death. In Indonesia, there are three concepts of poverty that have been used. First is the absolute poverty, second it is the relative poverty, and lastly it is hardcore poverty. These three concepts can also be linked to the poverty line income. You must differentiate between these three poverty concepts. When we say poverty line income, ataupun kita katakan pendapatan PGK atau pendapatan garis kemiskinan, it is a level of income that has been used to measure poverty. So we'll be able to identify and also separate those who are poor from those who are not poor. So the PLI takes into account the minimum requirement of a household for three major components: food, clothing, and also footwear, and also non-food components such as rent, fuel and power, transportation and communication, health, education, and lastly it is about recreation. So the PLI also constructed based on consumer price index as the basic cost of the above mentioned item just now, which are regarded as the minimum necessities of life. In Malaysia, PLI for household has been revised to 2,208 ringgit per month. It is according to our new methodology in 2019 as compared to previously being used, the 2005, which was nearly 980 ringgit. So for 2,208 ringgit per month, it is based on the consideration for 1,038 for non-food items and also 1,169 for food. In this 2019 methodology, which was based on optimum food requirement and also healthy eating, as well as the 146 non-food items from the B20 household spending pattern in 2019 household expenditure survey. So the 2,208 was obtained by dividing the overall PLI value, which is the poverty line income value in each household with the total number of households in Malaysia. For this latest measure, using the 2019 measurement or methodology, so since I have already mentioned about the healthy eating, so the recommended food servings will include food categories which are converted to price, as include fish, poultry, meat, cereal, bread, rice, eggs, vegetables, and milk. As for the non-food items, those covered clothing, housing, shoes, fuel and utilities, furniture, transportation, and also communication, education, and lastly, health. So under this new methodology, so Malaysian absolute poverty rate will improve from 7.6% in 2016 to only 5.6% in 2019. So there was a decrease or drop from 5,025, nearly 5,026 households below poverty line in 2016 to nearly 4,441 households in 2019. So from these 4,405k households, 70% of them or the poor household have more than 4 household members. 4 members in a India household. Whereas 13% had 4 household members. So meaning that if we combine those two, 83% have 4 or more households. So for poor household has 4 or more members in their households. The blue line is the previous or the old methodology using the 2005 methodology. So when we see here, it's like 0.2%, meaning that it's merely 0% of poverty, meaning that almost none of the Malaysian population were poor. Okay? So that's why we have to revise the poverty line. So meaning that when in 2016 they were 7.6%, then in 2019 it been reduced to 5.6%. So it is more reasonable numbers compared to almost none of the Malaysians were poor. In addition to that, the highest percentage of poor households were the head of the families of poor household aged 45 to 49%, with 16% of them, followed by those who head of the family age 40 to 44, which were 15.4%, and head of the family between the age of 50 to 54, 13%, while those who were aged 65 and above were 12%. From this figure, we can say that there's nearly half of the those with who were poor households come from head of the family with age 40 and above. It can be implied that the older the head of the family, the higher the possibility of those households becoming poor. When we compare between urban and rural areas, so in 2019, absolute poverty in urban areas were 3.8%, a drop from 4.8% in 2016, whereas the numbers of absolute poverty in rural areas also decreased by 5% to 12.4% in 2019 compared to 17.5% in 2016. So as for the hardcore poverty, it also improved from the 0.6% in 2014 to less than 0.5% in 2019, meaning that the number of hardcore poor households were reduced nearly a half from 45,000 in 2016 to 27 households in 2009. If we want to compare by states, so poverty rate in Malaysia, the state with the highest poverty rate were Sabah, Kelantan, and Sarawak with 19.5%, 12.4%, and also 9.9% in Sarawak. While for the lowest, we can say, because we exclude the Putrajaya and Kuala Lumpur, it is the Selangor, Pulau Pinang, and also Wilayah Persekutuan Labuan. As for the by ethnic, Bumi Putra has had the highest incidence of poverty with 7.2%,